FlossTube, welcome to my stitchy home. My name is Becca and this is the 4th day of my FlossTube 1-year anniversary celebration where I'm doing all kinds of, the whip parade, the pattern parade, the kit parade, the in general parade of stuff to just refamiliarize myself with the things I have, and hopefully you'll enjoy the ride as well. So thank you for coming to visit with me. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying these videos and are getting some stitching done. Isn't that what it's all about? All right, this is not a very interesting bag. Well, okay, it comes from let's see here, Books A Million. I don't know why I have it. I must have bought something. I don't know. All right, so this bag is kits that are even a little further down in importance. I don't know. As I said yesterday, who knows what order I'll actually stitch these things in. Each one I'm attracted to and want to stitch, but I had to come up with some sort of order to go through them for this parade. So here we go. All right, and there'll be a listing down below of all of these projects. They're the name of the design, who it's by, the type of fabric I have paired with it, and floss information. If oh, there'll also be a link to the page under My Stitchy Home where my playlists are. And I have a playlist for my 2020 regular floss tubes, my 2019 regular floss tubes, and then I have a separate playlist for all of these that are for my 1-year FlossTube anniversary celebration. And you'll hear zipping and unzipping and rustling of papers. All right, the first one, I got the kit at the Embroiderers Guild of America Tennessee Valley Regional Seminar in the summer of 2017. It was a kind of a optional if you want to get together and sew during the it was a summer retreat. It wasn't like classes, but anyway, they put together a kit for the Pining to Stitch BISCORNU. And this was in the EGA Needlearts magazine in March 2012. So I've been a member of EGA since 2006. I actually have the magazine this was in, and I just went ahead and made copies of the pages relevant to the making of the BISCORNU. But like I said, the kit was provided to us, and it's got some 28 count cream linen, DMC flosses. It's got some metallic in there, and some thread for sewing the BISCORNU closed, and some polyfill. And at the time I got it, I thought, oh, I'll go home and I'll stitch that up in no time. And that was the summer of 2017. All right. Next up, this is one that reflects my love of quilting. Oh, and I got this at the Stitch Niche in Arlington, Texas. It's a Blue Ribbon Designs quilted garden. And I actually went in there and I said, do you have this pattern? I don't know who it's by, but it's got bright colored quilts and then some flowers around the edges. And they said, no, that doesn't sound familiar. And then I found it in their stuff and I was so excited, and they were so excited for me that I found it. Now I've pulled Picture This Plus Regency. And I just kind of a greenish tan kind of background for all the bright colors. I have a Bags Plus, and I don't know what this is called. I know it has a name. I guess the trees need to go upright. But I bought it from a live sale that Michelle Bendy Stitchy had, and there's the floss colors. Oh, I love that. That's what we all say, right? I love that. I love that. So if I show anything that you have in your stash, or you're wanting to get and you would like to start it with me, any of these can move up in importance if I have somebody else that's wanting to stitch it at the same time as me. All right, this bag has 3 Rosewood Manor projects in it, kitted projects. The first one is called Charity. Again, it's by Rosewood Manor. Charity. And I got some, I'm not going to take out of the bag, just some white linen. And I think it's 36 count is what I believe. And then I've got the DNC. I need to put on thread drops and a ring. So that's first one of 3 in this bag. And I think I did that, I know I did that because I'm working on And a Forest Grew right now, which is a huge, huge Rosewood Manor. And I know it's going to take a while, and so I want to finish it, I think, before I start these, or before I at least, work consistently on one. Do any of you do that, where you have several patterns from a particular designer and you just work on them one at a time, or do you rotate through several that are all the same designer? I'm curious. All right, the next one is American Flag Quilt Sampler. Each one of these boxes represents a state. By Rosewood Manor. I've heard some things are kind of tricky about this. I've got 36 count Lakeside Misty Rain. I've got a fat quarter, and the design on 36 count would be 14.5 by 19, which means I would have 1.5 inches top and bottom and 4 inches on each side. And the only thing that really concerns me is stitching the top and the bottom. If I only have, you know, this much of fabric, I guess I'd have to just sew some muslin or something to the top and the bottom so that I could still have tension on the fabric and yet still be able to get to the edges to stitch them. But anyway, I would love to stitch it on that. And then it comes, I've got the MC, beautiful, beautiful colors. So there's that one. Which I know, like Janet Jabber has the One Nation flag, and she's stitching a state and a star every week to get her, you know, to get all the states stitched. And that's probably the kind of thing I want to try to do with this, but from what I've heard people talk about, it's got like quarter stitches, 3/4 stitches, it's got compensation, that it's just not that fast to stitch. So I might have to do something like where I stitch one state every 2 weeks, and then it'll take, you know, a couple of years to get through it. This is Quakers and Quilts by Rosewood Manor. So on the back they show doing it as a monochromatic with just the Quaker and the letters, and not stitching the multicolored quilt designs. But I am going to take this in a whole nother direction. So I've got 36 count cream linen, and I went to Labors of Love, which is a needlepoint shop, when they had sort of a grand opening, re-grand opening a year or two ago up in Atlanta, and I asked them, did they have any weeks dye works? And they brought out like a couple of rings, and they said, this is what we have. We're not going to carry it. We're not planning to carry it because I don't know, weeks doesn't get used, I guess, a whole lot with needlepoint. So I went through it, and I finally picked colors that I could put together in a quilt or in a Quaker design. They would look good together. So mine is going to be really bright. Now I'm kind of thinking this may not be enough floss for that big of a design. Let me look and see. I should have looked to see what the stitch count was. 300 by 160. But if I had to buy more weeks or supplement with DMC, I could. The flag one, in case you're interested, is 340 by 260. And then the charity one is 230 by 99. And one of the nice things about Rosewood Manor is you typically get like extra little patterns in her books. They might be a subset of the main pattern, or they just might be something that's kind of goes along with it. And so you can always stitch those smalls for ornaments or just quicker designs, gifts and things like that. You're not limited to just, you know, okay, here's the whole big design. All right, next up is from a class I took. So I've got a little bag here that's holding a wooden chest and a notebook. And I do have a picture of what the final outcome will be. This is a stitcher's chest designed by Janice Note of Noteworthy Needle. And she supplied the chest, which I'll show you in a minute. And you stitch this to go on the top, and a pin pillow, a needle book. I think it's a Altoid tin, but I think it's for your, is it for your pins or for your needles maybe? And then a little scissor fob. So all of that, it's stitched on 32 count cream linen, and this is what I got done in class, which is for the scissor fob, and it's not done yet. I do think I stitched on it that day. I maybe picked it up for an hour one other time. Alright, so this is the chest. So Janice came to Columbus, Georgia to teach this class to our Embroiderers Guild members. So you stitch a thing to go here, and then you'll see yourself. Say hello. See the opposite side of my room, my quilt design wall. Then, and like I said, she finished all of these, so they've got some like stain on them. And this is where your pin pillow would go. It's got mat board, it's got the batting, it's got velvet, because you line these things with velvet, and it's got the floss. This is the velvet. Oh, and there's the Altoid tin, and we made the tassel too for the, I think for the scissors. So this was an unfinished box that she finished. She finished all the boxes for us. This has got little feet. Really cute. And I guess it wasn't that expensive. I mean, the class was not that expensive at all. Here, I better put that away. All right, and then, so in the morning we stitched, and she went over the making of all the components of the box. And then in the afternoon of the class, we went over, and we didn't stitch at all, on this double BISCORNU. So down here is one, and then up here is another. And on the inside where they face each other, it kind of looks like a cootie catcher. You can see up here. And then they just nest together. And you're stitching, you know, flowers and a bee on the inside, and then the outside looks kind of like wrought iron with vines. And that is stitched on blue and green linen, and I don't know the count. DMC metallics polyfill. So there's the blue linen, and there's the green, and here's the polyfill. That will be an adventure that I do intend to do it. Oh, and then we got a waxer too. Okay, there's that. And let's see, I forgot to say, the chest was a stitcher's chest, and the double BISCORNU was called My Secret Garden because hidden in the two is the garden. All right, the next project I have is the 2019 Linen and Threads Mystery Sampler. I actually did start this on a white even weave, and I didn't like it. I didn't like how it looked, how it felt to stitch it. I was stitching it over 1, I think, on 28 count. So I stopped and repurposed that fabric. This is 229 wide by 229 high. That's just a rendering of what it would look like. And you can stitch it in any floss you want. It's called A Peacock's Garden, and it's on the Linen and Threads Mystery Sampler. It's the Linen and Threads website, linenandthreads.com. It's by foxandrabbitdesigns.com. So when I discarded my first effort, I decided to put the needle away. I decided to use this. And this is a fat half. Let's see, it is about 14.5 by 14.5, the design on 32 count. This is 32 count Jobulin in lily pad. So I won't need, you know, all of this, but I think it would be nice to have, you know, maybe a little bit more width-wise. And then I'll have quite a bit of fabric left over for another project. Now, what am I going to stitch on this bright green, you want to know? Well, I just went through my stash and pulled blues and purples and greens and teals of all kinds. And then I also got Threadworks green. I had started with this Threadworks color 183. It's purple, blue, and green variegated. I had started with it on the first go round and just a few DMC, but when I decided to start over, I got a Wildflowers in the color Distant Hills, so it's purple and green. And I got a Karen Impressions in Plum. Like I said, all these DMC. I got a Threadworks color 11582 in a purple. You get quite a bit of yardage. It's a nice thing about the Threadworks ones. Color 198. Perfect, like the perfect color. And then color 11381 is the turquoise. So I think, let's see if I can hold this up. And it'll all drop to the floor. Anyway, I think those will look great on that green. And it's a garden, right? It's the Peacock's Garden, so I think the bright green background will be nice. I don't know when I'll start that. I'm almost thinking of maybe abandoning that project, except I really love the floral motifs and the colors, so I keep it. This is a pattern I picked up, I think, off a freebie table, and this is the Marty Graves quilt of 1826. It's a full coverage design. And it's by the Good Housewife, or Huswife. And it's 101 by 101. It's not that big. And I've got some 18 count, I think. Yeah. No, 16 count. 16 count Ada that I don't think I need to do anything to it. I might tea coffee dye it just so that it's not bright white underneath the floss. I got the called for flosses, and they're very, you know, autumnal. But it is full coverage, so I do think I'll probably darken up the Ada to stitch Marty Graves. It makes me think of quilts. It's quilt design inspired. Alright, not as many tonight to go through. Okay, this one is the Strawberry Thief, and it was published in, it's by Beth Russell. It was in a magazine. Did I write down the magazine? I don't think I did. I'll have to go get into my magazines and see which one it was. But anyway, Strawberry Thief. It's not full coverage, although I suppose if you wanted to stitch the background you could. But the called for fabric is 14 count Ada in navy blue. So for some reason I have some of my flosses on a ring, and then I wonder if that's because I initially pulled the DMC and then I found I had some of the fancy floss. No, it calls for DMC, Anchor, or Madeira, and it does look like I found the green, pink, and tan that I'm holding in my hand in DMC, so I substituted. Then there's the blue, which there's very little bit of the blue. I had a mystery even weave that it's a 28 count, and I dyed it navy blue. You may remember I showed this last year after I experimented, and I said I had a project in mind, but I couldn't think what it was. It was this one. So this on, you know, a 28 count or a 14 count would end up being 16 by 18. So I don't think I'll have much on either side. I'll probably have to do this thing like I'll do with that other pattern. I'll have to sew some to the edge. Anyway, there was just something about that. I love the strawberries, and then Beth Russell, William Morris Designs is just kind of a bucket list item, I guess, to do. And I was trying to pull stuff I had, but I do think I bought a few of those DMC. I didn't have every single one. Okay. Okay. Actually, I have several patterns in here, but I'm only going to show one. And this is a Buscilla counter cross stitch kit called Love You Always. And so it's hard to read, so when I stitch it, I'll darken the words up. But it says, loved you yesterday, love you still, always have, always will. And it's a 8x10 if it's stitched on the 14 count Ada. But I have a 32 count linen called Looking Glass by Under the Sea Fabrics. It's kind of a steely blue and lavender combination. It's got more blue in some areas and more purple in others. So instead of stitching that background, sorry, I know there's a glare. Instead of stitching all that gray background, I'll let this do the work. And that way all I have to do is stitch the birds and the branch and the words. Maybe the border, maybe. A few other like small patterns in here that are not kitted. Okay, and then the only other thing I have in this bag are some samplers, and I'm going to save those to maybe do tomorrow. And I've also got, I know I've got some more cross stitch kitted upstairs, so I'll be working tomorrow to pull some of those things together to make another video for Friday, and it'll be the samplers and then whatever else I decide to pull in to show you on Friday. So I hope you've enjoyed that, maybe seen some things that inspire you, or you want to stitch, and that'd be fine, or maybe things you already have in your stash. And like I said, if you see something that you're like, oh, I would love to start that, or I was planning to start that, please let me know, and so maybe we can stitch on a little bit together, and that would be fun. So thanks for stopping by my stitchy home to help me celebrate my 1-year FlossTube anniversary and go through my stash. Have a good evening, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.